Truly, yes. But okay, we're getting into game number 3. It's tied up 1-1 as I fix the score down here and swap the players around. Beastie can't stay in his base, so let's do these intros quick. He's yellow. He's serious. It's Terran. Beastyqt.
The bottom right has the red Protoss. It is GunGFuBanDa.
And this proxy from Beastie, I mean, proxy Reapers isn't super terrible, but just in general, the same problem still persists, where whether it's a mothership core, the actual overcharge, or the adept damage, Reapers are fairly easily dealt with. The only advantage for Beastie is that this will get in here before any of those are rightly available. But if you pull a couple of probes, you do some decent micro, I feel like this shouldn't fall too poorly to this, unless GunGFuBanDa seriously underestimates or miscontrols.
Right, yeah. This is not meant to do like a ton of damage, but the follow-up is what's more interesting. You can go into a proxy rack, it's not do a lot of damage, but definitely throw off the build a little bit. Oh my god, it's proxy versus proxy. And then go into a factory and a starport and just ramp up the pressure. Like anything basically in those two facilities can do a lot of damage. Cyclone, Hellion, Widow Mines, Medevac, Liberator. It can start the ball rolling. But GunGFuBanDa going for his own, I'm going to guess, a Stargate proxy is going to really make things interesting. And I think the Stargate proxy would win out.
Yeah, but it depends on how badly this goes. Like, I really... Okay, so to start, I like the Zealot. This will soak hits from the Reaper instead of probes. That's really what you want. But you're right, like back at home, BC's not going to have that production of 6 Marines. He might have a Widow Mine in the mineral line. He might have a turret down. You have more minerals to work with now than you did in HOTS. So it's hard to say that this Oracle automatically wins, but I'd say it certainly has a lot more potential than this Reaper does.
Yeah. The Reaper should be scouting, you know, like the lack of a Nexus, and the SCV actually scouts that.
Does, yeah.
But also like how much gas was taken. So like if he's thinking, you know, he's actually calm and thinking, he would be like, okay, proxy Stargate, and he is. He got an engineering bay, he has a missile turret, and with that, the proxy Oracle actually is going to start losing out here as he's still going off of one base, not up to a starport like I thought though. A second Rax. That's interesting. So. Probably some type of push combined with Cyclones. This is interesting.
If it is gonna be Cyclones, I think that's gonna be really cool. Almost blocks out that Nexus, by the way. That would have been super perfect if he did. But this Reaper has sadly kind of fallen off. As he goes back home, he might catch the Stargate. But turret's down, so damage should be limited through this. Magfield Accelerator. It is gonna be a lot of Cyclones. Oh my god.
Yeah. I think I saw Ruff doing this yesterday at DC Land.
Well, I would love to hear your insight on that in just a moment. But the quick TLDR for those who don't know, Magfield Accelerator adds an extra 400 damage versus armored from the lock-on ability. Now, obviously, that's not 400 burst damage. That's over time, but still, 400 damage is a lot. That's if you have Magfield Accelerator, you can kite down an Ultralisk with one Cyclone, full to dead.
It'd be nice if the Cyclone saw the proxy Stargate and just cut out the pylon.
Yeah.
Because Phoenix is actually not a bad idea from GunGFuBanDa here. They could lift up the Cyclone, take it out of the fight once the fight actually comes to a head.
Yeah.
They could simply do a little more damage, revolve around that missile turret. Actually, once they get the Phoenix, what's not gonna happen?
Not initially, the second one might. It's gonna fly over the turret at some point. Second Cyclone picks up the interrupt. Really? No, that was actually pretty cool. I like that. The second Cyclone's ready.
Yeah, not enough energy.
You know, in small battles like this, though, where it is one base versus maybe two, losing a Phoenix like this early is actually pretty bad. It's kind of like watching a Terran player lose a Reaper when they go for a proxy.
So Beastyqt is setting up for potentially this nice push that is, yeah, mostly based off the Cyclones, but the bio behind it's also not going to be too bad. Might get a quick third, too. His Reaper's still got some nice scouting. It's still alive, actually, so it can go back and scout.
Yeah, actually, a Suicide Scout in the main at this point, I would say, is fairly important. Just to see what exactly he's going to be looking at here. And the biggest thing is, like, there is no additional attack. There's no Robo. There's no, I don't know. Twilight counts, there's nothing. So... this is a pretty rough situation for GunGFuBanDa. Cyclones quickly dispatch of the pylon, so no more proxy to worry about.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a relief. So actually going into tanks and not going too offensive with the Cyclones. I mean, they're so nice because the possibility of them actually getting sniped is quite low, and unless the Phoenix count had actually grown to a nice number, which he knows they hadn't, you can just kind of sit in the middle of the map and controlled correctly, like you pay attention to them, they should be able to stop anything that comes forward.
So what do you think then about you mentioned you'd seen Ruff do something at the DC LAN yesterday. What did he do? Was it like a super all in cheese, or like what was the Cyclone usage there?
I didn't see the entire game, but it was a one-base like multiple Cyclone build with a lot of bio production, I think off of 2 racks. And what I think he also did was he backed it up with two orbitals afterwards. So it was a lot of pressure combined with a very nice follow-through had he needed it. But he actually won with the Cyclones, just consistently pressuring. I think it was on Ruins, which makes a lot of sense. No, it was on Lairlac, which still makes sense with 2 ramps.
Huh. Okay. Well, BC scans the 3rd base, and that Nexus is going to go pretty quick. I guess what's kind of funny to consider is, like, let's say you get this critical mass of Cyclones of, like, 5 or even more. I'm not even saying that many. You could lock on a Nexus and kill that so quickly.
Yeah. That's why it was a little tough for the Protoss to deal with it when Ruff did it, was because he would pop the photon overcharge, they back off, and then they just run in, like, snipe it. Like, there wouldn't even a chance for a second one. The Phoenix count is high enough to help the Stalkers out, though, so...
Ooh, no,
this actually was really nicely done, and Beastyqt...
That's actually pretty devastating.
I didn't think he was going to lose them either, so...
So, there's actually the original version of the Cyclone, as we've learned going back through VODs recently. I had a bit of a nostalgia trip, and the old Cyclone used to attack almost, I'd say, 2.5 to 3 times faster than the present one does. But man, going back even further to the original Cyclone, where it was broken as hell and just nobody could deal with that unit at all. I remember we finally went Phoenix that one game and managed to get a kill after going carriers, but it's nice to see Cyclones are no longer as devastating as their initial conception for it. But the same tactics are still there. Lift it up, interrupt the lock-on, and try and kill it before it kills you.
Yeah. That was really nice play for GunGFuBanDa, but I had this feeling that BCQD's entire game plan was messed up by the proxy. So it's not like he's like super low in army or super low, in economy. Although it sucks that the 3rd base was pretty quick for GunGFuBanDa. But those 3 Cyclones really felt like they were meant to do more. They didn't fulfill their destiny. They died and barely did anything.
All right, well, Charge being researched next. Blink already finished up. Scan towards the main is going to reveal not too much, just a lot of gateways and, again, the Twilight Council, kind of to be expected. As BC starts reaching out for his own gold base, this does create a target that's harder to defend. I'm a little bit worried in that regard. But Comp Shield's being done, his bio quality is certainly good enough to fight whatever he'd like for the time being. Oh, Lupa hype! Lupa, 15-month resub. Nice.
Yeah. It's a real shame, because it not only was it 3 Cyclones, it was also the upgrade for them. And yet he isn't considering going for more.
Yeah, to explain that upgrade too a little bit further, since we got some time, just to, again, in case we start seeing this become more common. Magfed Accelerator adds that 400 damage, and that's really cool. You used to have to get that through weapon upgrades. So like each weapon upgrade would increase the Cyclone overall damage through lock-on. The fact that those are 2 separate entities means Beastie essentially gets +3 weapons with lock-on right away. And that's what makes it so strong in the early game. As we saw, it only takes like 4 shots to kill a Stalker or something silly. But 120 health and armored units, they are quite weak and easily disposed of in low numbers. I would have actually really liked to see him go high. Maybe not like, Cyclone Hellion levels of composition, but still, having like 5 behind a push would be really cool. Have those microed in the back or something.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been like an experiment to go for them over the tanks that we've been seeing more and more of, but it would have been cool to see. What's also cool to see is GunGFuBanDa has actually been investing into Storm every single game so far. We've actually seen a lot of Protosses, even after getting up to Archons, just not bother with Storm, which has always been, I guess, a little bit questionable, but they just, I guess by the time they get Storm, Liberator's usually out, and they're like, is it really that useful? I'm not sure.
Well, actually,
and Liberators are on the way out.
So actually, there's a problem with this for Beastie, in my opinion. If you remember, Chargelet Archon and Storm, Fast Storm with Chargelots, was a huge composition for a long time in HOTS, and then Widowmine's got the shield damage buff, and that alone shut this down. BC going for Liberators and Marauders, I don't think it's a terrible choice. But with the composition available from GunGFuBanDa, if BC just went full on HOTS mode and made Widow Mines, I think he'd actually be good to go.
Yeah, Widow Mines really did counter that style. It's such a good style too.
Yeah, like, it was really interesting. Huck was always really fun to watch with those. He was quite good at timings. But anyways,
Hardy was so fun.
yeah, him too. But anyways, the that device did get cleaned up. That drop's gonna be sent away. Gold base didn't take any damage. 11 probes go down, but honestly, not that many in the grand scheme of things.
But the goal really is not to tear down a 4th base, although that would have been really nice, or tear down a major tech building. It is just to make sure that GunGFuBanDa is not going to kill him. Their supplies are pretty even, so even without the drops, if GunGFuBanDa tried to attack, it probably would not have ended the game. But as you're getting up to your Liberator count, you want to actually have like a fairly high number before you really take an engagement. You usually want to have that upgrade off the fusion core too. That increases their range. And then you can start thinking about actually moving out with your Liberators, slowly seeking them up. This game has been surprisingly passive after 2 proxy openers.
Right. Not only was it like proxy versus proxy, it was something really aggressive like Cyclone with Magfield Accelerator versus Stargate tech. I really did expect this to go quite differently, but Liberators will clean up the Warp Prism. That missile turret, how is that not done?
Right?
Blizzard, I swear to...
He's really trying to draw the entire army back into the main base while attacking the front. It's a very excellent maneuver that Beastyqt is familiar with, so he didn't quite fall for it.
Yeah, the Liberator count's starting to really get up there, and at this point, there's a decent amount of Stalkers that could blink underneath, but the same problem as last time resides, where if you blink underneath those Liberators, you're going to blink into Marauders, you're going to blink into Tank Fire, and that might not be a good choice at all. Liberators as well have got the damage to deal with Archons. So they will just blow them away, dealing like 85 damage a shot base. He's even going for Liberator range. I didn't see him sneak in that fusion core, but that's kind of cool to see too. Not super imperative to winning versus losing, but it does increase that range. It makes it harder to close the gap for Protoss players.
We have the upgrades on the way as well. 2-2 versus actually just 2-2. They're pretty even. Gone are the days, I suppose, of Heart of the Swarm and those upgrade discrepancies. That always sucked. But the Stargate has started for GunGFuBanDa. Of course, his first Stargate got killed. He does want to start thinking about those Tempests, as they seem to be kind of the only option. I mean, we've seen some fancy footwork with spreading the Terran apart, trying to get the Liberators out from underneath, or the bio out from underneath the Liberators, and then sniping the Liberators, but it just usually ends up not going as well for the Protoss as the Terran. So Tempests are the most obvious option, but they're super expensive.
They are, and they're difficult to get. But if you get that mass of them, they're also really insanely difficult to break. The one thing I don't like here, though, is... Oh, well, that Templar is going to go down. Rip. Templar and Storm are great. There's no question about that. But I think Liberators are... Or, sorry, excuse me. Disruptors are still better for the ground fight. So having no investment in Liberators that require... they don't require upgrades at all is a little bit surprising.
We have a Ghost Academy. Beastyqt's army is getting increasingly more difficult to control, believe it or not. So the tanks are probably going to be the first thing that dies, because I think they're the least important thing to micro. You want to make sure the storms don't go on your bio like that, and you want to make sure your Liberators don't go ahead of your army and get sniped. And that's far more important than the tanks that are left over from the early mid-game.
Yeah, free kills there. Curious what graphs look like, considering we've been sitting at this passive play for so long. It took a while, but this was red for the longest time. Looks like Beasty with that 4th base really did get ahead, and that 5th base coming down now too is going to help a ton. DTs,
so
though.
Close.
Ooh,
so
DTs.
Close. Yeah, I mean, he's pretty set up on his main base. The Warp Prism can't get into the natural. This planetary won't finish in time. There are the ghosts. Yeah, the main base is really well set up, but the natural needs missile turrets too. Or the 4th base needs missile turrets on the left side. Beastyqt did predict this, so not gonna happen. Excuse you.
So speaking of ghosts, Snipe is gonna be a lot harder to use than it was in the past. That makes me a little bit bummed, because it was always cool watching the Snipe versus feedback wars on the Ghosts versus the Templar. Now, of course, you got EMP being the priority for a lot of many other different reasons, but EMP going out like crazy will be nice. Cloaking gonna finish up here soon too, so for Beasty, well, he had the Eagle Eye in the previous game, doesn't have it so far this game, and there's a lot of observers. Hopefully he takes care of this soon.
This is all buying... time for GunGFuBanDa to get up to the those Tempests, which he will need. Can't push into this Liberator force.
I'm really shocked that this is like, okay, it's the slowest push of all time as BC slowly leapfrogs his Liberators forward. At the same time, though, I've not seen a TVP get split like this on Preon before, so I don't actually know how bad this goes the longer it is, you know? Like, we know for Terran versus Zerg how it whittles down in long games, but not Terran versus Protoss. It is worth noting, though, BC has extensive experience in the late game and playing endurance matches, so in that regard, he'll be fine. Looks like the planetary did go down, though. Very unfortunate.
Dang, charge lots. But this army is looking a little controlled absolutely correctly. Beastyqt's army is better than GunGFuBanDa's.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially as the upgrades finish.
It took so long for the Tempest to come into play. Let's not forget that Liberator damage is going to go up like 5 at a time with each weapon upgrade. Tanks, this leapfrog is hilarious. It's like tanks move forward, then the Liberators move forward, then the tanks move forward. Like it's a slow push, but it's a good one. Time Warp comes down. What the fuck?
Yeah. Guess they're not really going to be using the potion overcharges that much. Cloak to finish on the Ghost. They already got a decent EMP once. They are mostly dead, though. One last Ghost to get EMPs.
Is getting frustrated and goes to the push. EMP hits the heart of that army, but even then, you still can't take those Liberator shots. This frustrates me because for many different reasons at GunGFuBanDa, he's got the money to have gone Liberators or Disruptors a long time ago. Neither of those units with their range are being utilized this game. Meanwhile, Beasty is cleaning up the harass on the other side of the map. GunGFuBanDa loses his 5th base.
Yeah, so back down to... Well, yeah, it's 5 versus 4 now, huh?
Yeah, they're all... Well, they're mining out their golds, too. Like, this isn't even a situation where you're like, oh, yeah, he's actually got a base here. Like, that's actually gone, funny enough. So, GunGFuBanDa's on, like, 1 and kind of his natural worth of mineral line, which isn't even that much. These Marauders might actually end the game in the background of this while this goes on, regardless of how this army fight goes. Liberators are doing a ton of damage, and the bio's going to kite backwards, but this actually went so much better for GunGFuBanDa. He picks up. He could go to the high ground to be safe, though.
I'm not sure he had to pick up.
I don't think he did either, but this is more important. Over here, he's lost his defenses. The Marauders took down the pylons. Now focusing on what little probes there are left, and GunGFuBanDa's gold base mining is really his last one. He's got a decent-sized bank, but that'll deplete quickly. So this new base that's going down over here, this needs to go up. But 2 medevacs are about to intercept, and this is 7 Marauders between them. A Nexus can go down pretty quickly to Marauders that have 3-3.
Yeah. Another drop was off to the right, too, and he did reestablish his 5th base with another planetary. He had an extra command center around.
Just playing with the graphs while we wait. Marauder's going to get on top of that cannon, take that down pretty quickly. Zealots can take a hit, but I just realized, they didn't even register with me until just now, GunGFuBanDa's not on 3-3. That's a pretty important factor when you've got as many Zealots as he's been playing with this game.
More ghosts are coming out. Beastyqt is once again getting up to that almost unbeatable main army.
Yeah, in the past, what was it, Happy? Happy was the guy who made, like, Ghost Vikings so popular. Ghosts have always been good in this matchup if you could get to them. In Legacy, I'd say even more so, but Templar come for storms, but there's no storms, nothing to storm.
Yeah, the worker count's low for both of them because, of course, a lot of their bases are mined out. They don't really need, like, 60, 70 workers. Yeah,
it's actually, we look at the income graph, it's not even just that, like, okay, BC's doing well, but both of them are, like, sub 500 minerals per minute. Like, that's not a lot of money to work with.
What does the main army of Beastyqt look like? He has lost quite a few units in those drops, but he has a very strong ghost count.
Yeah, he's gained so many... Ow, I hit my elbow on my desk. He's gained so many EMPs through this, too. The 6 ghosts is not terrible, but it should be enough to blanket this army. Like, just give GunGFuBanDa, like, a big bath full of EMPs.
He did fall down on the Liberator production. Now trying to start that up again. The ghosts do notice there's no observer.
Ooh, oh, jeez. Those Archons only have 10 health without their shields. Immediately pushed back by those EMPs. Almost just devastating. Everything. Snipes going off on top of some of the Templar as well. Warp Prism is actually a good idea to pick this up. Oh, what? Storm to some... Okay, that was
That's
unfortunate
awkward.
for GunGFuBanDa. I mean, I think he was going to die to the ghosts anyways, but it didn't help.
His ghosts are depleted on energy, so he has to wait a little while longer. Beastyqt, once again, playing a very passive, like, style. I mean, these drops are really cool, but he is not eager to do that main push again, is the biggest thing. Like, he really wants to have that, like, the high Liberator count, the high ghost count with a lot of energy, and just depend on harassment for the most part to actually get it on the map. This is what he's doing versus Zerg, too.
Yeah. You know, every time Beastie comes in here and does something like this, though, where he picks off even just one Zealot and loses no Marauders for it, that's him getting ahead further and further, slowly and slowly as time goes on. GunGFuBanDa has depleted his bank. He had the Fleet Beacon, but we've still yet to see Tempests in play. And this army with Beastie, I don't know how you break this without them.
That nice defensive setup. Actually,
Tries to
recalls a
recall.
mothership.
Yeah, I think he was trying to recall the DTs as well. Very unfortunate. Drives GunGFuBanDa off mining, but as good as this game has been with length and, I guess, endurance, it does feel like if GunGFuBanDa loses this Nexus, he may tap out of the game without an actual fight. Like, this might be an anticlimactic ending, depending on how this goes. Beastie's got to recognize this, too. Like, he knows his opponent's mined out. This is the disadvantage to taking the golds early. If you take the golds early, yeah, you get a lot of minerals. You make 100 Zealots. You have a grand old time. But you also mine out way faster. So Beastie is still enjoying gold mineral income as well as a regular base while he looks to potentially expand, over here. Just speaking in terms of money, Beastie is miles ahead of his opponents.
His army is apparently all set up now, too, so he is moving forward after being so defensive with it for a long time.
There's just so many Liberators. Oh my god.
Yes, he does.
Oh
this is
my
a very,
god.
very scary army. I mean, Beastyqt has played like a really, really good
Abandoned
game
ship.
based primarily on defending and just playing a smart game. But I also, I'm a little disappointed GunGFuBanDa. Like, he knew that he had to go up to Tempest, but he took such a long time to do it. If only he had gotten 1 or 2 Tempests early on and not taken the fights that he did, I wonder what this game would look like.
Well, we got some EMPs going on the right side, so I was very amused with the Nexus going down. Drop's also going to move to the other Nexus, but once again, it's not mining. It's not even got gas. Everything here is expired and dry as a bone. EMP's hitting most of that army. Oh, God, it's like a flower of Tempest. It's beautiful. It's literally beautiful watching the Tempest deploy. Not for the Protoss, of course, but for the Terran.
There's nothing GunGFuBanDa can do without range.
Like, it's insane to me they didn't go for Tempest. I would understand if there was a point in this game where he was so stressed and he didn't have the money for it. But he was sitting on a 2K bank at one point? He has a Fleet Beacon and never went Tempest. That shocks me. Because GunGFuBanDa is a better player than that. He's a smarter player than that. I do think he got caught up with a bad case of the tunnel visions, though.
A little bit. He also might have seen an opportunity because his harassment was starting to do damage, like the Zealots, the DTs. And then he tried to bust the main army. And that's where everything started to go south. That's when he had to use all of his bank to make an army to defend the counter and couldn't go for the Tempests. If he had played a more defensive game, I do think Tempests, the mass, Protoss army with a good number of Tempests actually wins out against the Terran, but we're not going to see that this game.
Oh, I see if he's put into Zealots. That's not going to work. But yeah, again, neglecting level 3 upgrades, neglecting Tempests. Beastie definitely deserved this win. GG. But here's the better question, Zombie Grub.